Thank you for joining us on the Kristen Weardon Show today. I am your host, Kristen Weardon, and today my guest is Christopher. Now you have to tell me your last name because I always mess it up.
Paraldi.
Paraldi.
Perfect.
Christopher Paraldi. I can't believe that I'm Italian and I still can't get it right.
That's all right, though. It's
You
okay.
know, there's some things that just in life you see on paper
Yeah.
and it just doesn't roll off the tongue.
It's the sauce. You got to get used to it, and once you get used to the last name, it starts to get easier to say. So we'll work on that.
Oh, but is it sauce or is it gravy?
It's gravy.
It's gravy. So, okay, we've already started off our show with a little bit of our controversy
Right.
being Italian.
Absolutely.
So I have to know, I can't remember, did you grow up in Florida or did you move here? You transplanted?
Yes and no. I was born in New York. My family and I were born. Well, my family and I was born in the Bronx. Spent 5 years in the Bronx. Then we went to New Jersey for 5 years, and then at 10 years old, we came to Southwest Florida.
That's
19
interesting.
1986, I started at Cape Elementary, Pelican Elementary, Gulf Middle, Cape Coral High School, FGCU, and now I'm still here many, many years later.
Oh, that's great. You know, it's funny. I moved here when I was 12 or
Sure.
10.
Right.
10 also. So, and I came from Connecticut via, my mom was a 60s flower child. So I came
Sure.
here via New Mexico, Arizona, California, New Hampshire. I mean, I had like a little train ride of different places, but I also came to Florida when I was
Awesome.
10.
I think
Yeah.
everybody one day will just end up in this beautiful state called Florida. It's just gorgeous, you know.
It seems like it right now,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
It's. I mean, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I was just in Colombia last week with a friend. Had a great time. I've traveled all around the United States and South America. There's nothing like Southwest Florida. It's gorgeous. It's clean, and you know, it's hot most of the time, which I wish it was cooler on occasion, but I could deal with that rather than having the snow and those slushy days out there.
I have to tell you, you're my third guest today.
Right.
Because for those of you who don't know, we film ahead of time for the podcast. And every single one of them had the same thing to say
Right.
because we all live here.
Sure.
And no one wants to go back to the snow.
Right.
It's great to visit,
Absolutely.
take my kids so
Sure.
they can experience
Sure.
it.
Sure.
But living in it, I'm sorry for those of you who still live up there. We're staying.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're staying. We love it here. So living here, so you've spent your whole life here, but basically.
More or less. Yes.
So if you have any story to share
Sure.
about growing up in Florida, especially back then, because it's changed a lot since
Absolutely.
we were kids.
Right.
What would be like a nostalgic or funny story you have to share about living in Southwest Florida?
A nostalgic and funny story of living in Southwest Florida, I think, is the massive growth that we saw in Cape Coral and Fort Myers, going from 1986, where, you know, there was four-way stop signs on Cape Coral Parkway, and there was no Publix every 30 feet. There was no, you know, now you see a CVS, a bank, and a Publix just about every corner of every store, which is great if you need those spots. But back in 1986, 1987, it was a lot more open, and properties were. I remember Northwest Cape, you can buy a property for, like, say, $300 to $500 for a piece of property.
Right.
And I remember, like, wow. And then I remember Lehigh Acres back in the day was, you know, $50 down, $50 a month for this property. Now they're, you know, a lot more.
40,000 or
It's
more,
just crazy how you see that growth grow. And then I think, okay, we're in 2023, 24. Where are we going to be in 5 to 10 years from now? We're going to look back 10 years later or 10 years prior, which is now, and think of the massive growth. So it's been impressive to see. And I'm glad to be part of it, you know, because I've seen a lot of companies grow and people grow and, you know, a lot of change. And it's, you know, I couldn't ask for a better place to experience because it's just awesome. I really enjoy it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And I think that's the general consensus for people who've stayed and like this lifestyle,
Right.
for sure. So, okay, looking back, you said you graduated from FGCU.
Yes,
So college education is a kind of a hot button right now.
sure.
And as someone who's been to college and a successful business person after that,
Sure.
how do you feel about some of the controversy right now with college education, when somebody should consider it? I know with my son, he's now graduating,
Sure.
but at first he hears like, the YouTube, the Elon Musk, and how you can get your education there,
Right.
which I'm not disagreeing with that.
Right.
But as an entrepreneur, how much of a role do you feel it plays, and how do you feel about that controversy going on right now about a college education?
It's a great question. I think college is important for a few careers, as in doctors, lawyers, things that you need that education, that degree, or that piece of paper to kind of grow and become that person you want to be or that career. I also believe that if you want to be something in life, you got to know where that is, and you got to meet the right people that are around that industry or that space. So I always tell people, if you're going to go to college, try to meet everybody you can in college. Try to introduce yourself to the students, the teachers, the professors, and really get to know them and where they're at and where they're about, because you never know what they can offer you. Education is great, but I think networking with others is the best education you could have, because that's what gets you in life, are the people you meet and the people you surround yourself with. So take that college experience and make sure you utilize that space and introduce yourself to everyone, talk to people, ask the right questions, because that's where the education is. It's really getting to know what others are doing, how they did it. And then if you find somebody that's in a industry or a position you want to be at, follow them, because that's the education you need, is what they're doing. And granted, you'll get the degree, you'll graduate, and I look at it like school is good if you want to accomplish that, and it feels good to say I did my 4 years and I still have mine on the wall, but I don't believe that's the biggest thing in life, is getting that degree. It's really getting the people around you that are going to get you there, which is important.
So I like that advice, because people just think about the paper.
Sure.
They don't think about the networking and the connections. So it's almost like college is your first networking experience.
Absolutely.
And you can actually use it to capitalize on besides the paper.
Sure.
I mean, that makes sense, because your professors that you're learning your degree from
Right.
have already done.
Right.
And the connections that they may have, and just being social and interacting with people.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a whole different take on what we hear.
Right.
Whether it's in the media, or some parents are like, oh, I don't want to pay for it. Listen, as a parent, nobody wants to pay for it.
Right.
But I got to tell you, my daughter went out of school,
Sure.
out of state.
Sure.
And it was a little brutal.
Right.
But she did get some scholarship money and things
Right.
like that. But the experience she got
Right.
being in another state, in another school, versus my son being still in Florida.
Right.
But Florida's a big state, for those people who don't realize. It's 7 hours
Sure.
for him to get to and from.
Right.
So he's not close enough.
Right.
So he gets those experiences. But at the same time, he's like, Mom, I'm done.
Right.
Like, I can graduate this year. I just want to be done.
Sure.
And I think for certain personalities,
Right.
that's their trajectory.
Right.
The student curriculum every day
Right.
for 4 years.
Right.
Okay, I got the degree. Let's go. I want to go out in the world.
Well, another thing I say, there's successful people that don't need degrees that are in a trade, let's say plumbers, technicians, mechanics, HVAC. There's a million different careers that people do extremely well at, as long as they dedicate their time. And there's nothing wrong with not that there's anything wrong with being something that you don't need a degree on, but there's so many other opportunities that you don't need a 4-year commitment to do. You just need the right vision. You need the right, let's say mindset, and say, okay, if I want to do this, I want to get there. I just got to hone in with the right people, focus in on that, and get my education in this space. And if you do that, you can do extremely well. And you can't take that away from you. Like, once you understand a trait, I think that's better than education, because that's something that you can never get. You can never lose a job when you have a skill like that, because you're always going to have something that people need.
I agree with that. And totally lost my thoughts, so we'll just go on. So your career has seen some highs and lows.
Absolutely.
It's the entrepreneurial spirit.
Sure.
So you've gone from, you had a multi-million-dollar business end. Can you share how you navigated through, and you were young, I believe, you were 25, I think you said?
Just getting out. I was in college working in a business that I had with a few partners, doing extremely well. It was dealing with sports, and we did this for 4 to 5 years, and it was shut down. And it was closed. So going from one extreme to the next, I literally had the world in my fingertips, multi-million-dollar industry, making great money, and everything was great. And then one day that was taken from me and a group of other men. So it was hard to kind of understand that transition and know what was going on, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it gave me thick skin. Because you have to realize, and everyone has to realize this, anything could happen in life. You can wake up tomorrow and you don't know what that's going to bring to you. So you have to be ready for just about anything. So I went from having a career, having a number of people working with me and for me, doing extremely well, and thinking, great, I made it. Went to school, got my degree, got in a career or a space that was doing extremely well, and then it was gone. So having this money and then losing it all, literally having nothing because it was taken from me and a group of other men. So I thought to myself, do I let it take me down, or do I work my butt off? So I refocused, rehoned into marketing and networking, and started doing well in other careers. And to me, it was like I needed that kind of that situation to happen, because now I understand that it could happen to anyone at any time in any business. So understand that you're not in control of your career. anything could happen. You're in control of how you react to it. So if you can get up and go and make it work, you're going to be fine. And that's what I did, and I'm grateful for it. And even in the business I'm in now, who knows what tomorrow is going to bring? You know, I'm in the mattress business. I own a mattress store, and I do some consulting, but I don't know what next week, next month, next year is going to bring. I can give it 100%, but if things do happen, I got to adjust, adapt, and pivot and continue moving forward.
Well, and that's what I think creates a good entrepreneur or long-lasting entrepreneur.
Sure.
If you go through those hard knocks in the beginning,
Sure.
and then you turn around and you say, oh, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to give up?
Sure.
Am I going to go to the 9 to 5? I was joking earlier with another entrepreneur. We don't remember what it was like to have the JOB
Right.
or the BOSS.
Right.
We just don't know.
Right.
And going back would be, I guess if I had to, of course I would, if I had to pay my bills or take care of my family.
Sure.
But it's definitely not on our trajectory of what we want to do,
Right.
because we know we've been there.
Right.
And so picking yourself up, and it's good that you experienced that young.
Right.
I can tell you, having gone through it later, it is a little bit harder.
Sure.
For me, it was in the mid 40s.
Right.
And you're just like,
Right. Yeah, it's tough. It's difficult. And here's the thing. When people tell me they lose a job, they lose something, I congratulate them. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's part of the story. That's your story. Yeah. Like, granted, when you have the children, when you have people looking up to you, your story is going to be so important to them, because you could let them know what you've gone through and how you've brought it, how you went from one extreme to the next. And if you lost a job, lost somebody special, had things change where you had no control over it, you could either, dawn on it, get upset and get really worked down, or you could say, you know what, it is what it is. Congratulations, I'm moving forward. And if you do that with that mindset and that composure, you're going to be okay. It's not easy. It's far from easy, but it's part of life. Yeah. Everyone has to realize that, which is very important.
I enjoy that you have that mindset, and I think it's important to share that with younger people.
Sure.
Because especially in the days of social media and Instagram, and everybody has a Lamborghini all of a sudden,
Sure.
We're not really sure how.
Right.
Wow, it's there.
Right.
It's good to hear that you congratulate people.
Correct.
Because in people understanding, like, this is just part of the stepping stone. This
Absolutely.
is maybe that job wasn't your true path.
Right.
Or maybe that career was just a learning experience on how to deal with employees.
Sure.
Or how to deal with the FDA, or how to deal
Sure.
with government or post office,
Sure.
or whatever it might be that made it end. And I don't think people value I don't want to say failure, because some things are out of our control.
Sure.
I think it's important that people value that experience, because that will always be used later on.
Absolutely.
You look back and you say, oh yeah, that's how that worked out. So
Right.
This time I'm going to make a different decision.
Right.
Or not hire the person,
Sure.
or I'm going to go this way.
Right.
Not quite this way.
Right.
So I like how you said that.
Not to interrupt, Joyce, but
No, please.
what's so important is the circle you surround yourself with. You got to be quick to fire. You got to be quick to let go of people that don't bring value to yourself, because there's so many good people out there that you think are good, but they may not be good for you. And I hate to say that, but it's true. So the people you surround yourself with, or the information you allow in your mindset, is really going to give you the guidance or where you think you should be. So understand where you want to go in life. You got to bring in the right people, absorb the right information. And when things take place, understand that's part of your story. Don't let it bring you down. It's going to hurt. It's not easy. There's going to be days, weeks, months that you just want to give up. You want to throw your hat in and say, I can't do it. But if those didn't happen, the success you're going to receive and attain in the future isn't going to be valid, because you didn't go through the hardships. You didn't hit the lottery. Lottery is the best way to make money, where you scratch it off 7 numbers. Great, you're a millionaire. But to get to that level of success, there's a lot of trials and tribulations that we all have to go through. And if you understand that and grateful for that, it's going to make it, I wouldn't say easier, but understandable as you grow and as you continue.
I think as you mature,
Sure,
you
absolutely.
understand all the lessons that have been brought to you.
Sure.
And I think that's when we get to these points in our life, we can say, I actually appreciate everything I've been through.
Absolutely.
Even though some of it really sucked.
Yeah.
I can look back and say, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be sitting here today with you
Sure.
had I not gone through some of those things that I'm just like, am I going to make it out of this?
Right.
And then you wake up and you're like, well, I have only one other choice, and that's not making it. So
Right.
I'm just going to keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So given your experience in reinventing yourself, how, and we've already talked about advice you would give other people,
Sure.
but how do you feel about social media today? And because you have a very strong marketing background.
Sure.
You've worked for a global company.
I was with a company out of South America called Tioma Tioma Global, which is a health and wellness company that I was a general manager on. We were in Peru, Argentina, Costa Rica, Paraguay, Brazil. There was 9 different markets that I ran, which was it was challenging because it was a Spanish market, it was a Spanish culture, and it was different than the United States. So when we brought the company to the United States, we were in Utah and Miami, and their marketing was a lot different than our marketing. Since I ran the company, I had to kind of dictate each market, each country, and how they did things. So I had to understand the Peruvian market, the Bolivian market, the Costa Rican market. I mean, every market was different. And I had to understand how they trained, how they worked, and what they did. And I had to give them my flavor so I can guide them and go from there. So I did that for 3 years, had a lot of success. But well, I wouldn't say hard part, but in the midst of my success with them, COVID hit. So talk about going from one extreme where I'm having events all around the United States, all over the country. I had 79 events planned, scheduled, and booked, where I had to spend weeks canceling these events because we couldn't get on flights, we couldn't travel. So I was in South America speaking at different groups and having a lot of fun and building those relationships. And then all of a sudden, COVID, I'm like, what's COVID? What's going on? And then all of a sudden you couldn't leave the house. You had to use hand sanitizer. You had to use a face mask. And I'm like, I'm running a company where it's, belly to belly networking. I got to shake hands with people. I got to hug and kiss. I got to talk to people. They got to see my authenticity. So I spent 2 years in front of a camera, as we are now, which I liked, but it wasn't the same as really meeting people in person and getting to know them and really building that relationship. And I'm grateful now because that obstacle taught me how to adjust, adapt, and pivot. So you understand where there's nothing I could do about the situation. I got to make the best of it. So we transitioned to doing everything online, and we did well. It was exciting, but it taught me on how to take a business that was kind of on autopilot, doing well, and then we had to change the entire dynamics of it. And we did that within about 4 or 5 months because everyone had to. Either you put your hats up and give up, or you say, okay, we have this to work on and let's move forward. And we did. And we had a lot of fun.
So did you find that social media played a big part in that for your company, or was it not a social media driven company?
That was a very big social media driven company because everything was on social media where, MySpace.
We're dating ourselves. We're dating ourselves.
Excuse me, when I say MySpace, we had, Facebook, Twitter. Back in the day, there was no TikTok when I did Teoma. And I used a lot of my marketing where I used that, position to allow myself to get, seen by people all around the world. So if I did a video, they can look me up on different platforms and find out what we're talking about. I'd have weekly trainings. And what I did is every week, I would bring in a successful speaker, a successful marketer, a successful networker all around the world, and they would spend an hour training the audience. So which was nice, it was like an educational platform. Like you look at Netflix and you could watch movies. Well, with my company, it was more of how to learn how to build your business, your online presence, how to speak in front of a crowd, how to say no to the right people or the wrong people. And you could understand that, and you could do it in your underwear from the home you live in because you don't have to go anywhere. So that was cool. And we did that for some time, and I learned a lot from the people I brought in, and a lot of local people were part of my group, and it was a learning experience for me and my team. And I'm grateful for, I don't want to say COVID was a good thing, but I made the best out of a bad situation, and I learned a lot from it. Again, there's nothing you can do but move forward, and you have to learn, and you have to just, you have to make it work for you.
So how do you again, with the question, it's lost. How do you feel about, you have a son, right?
I do.
And you balance your work because you have a lot going on. You
Sure.
started a new company,
Sure.
which is
Mattress by Appointment Bonita Springs, which
That's
is
right.
a mattress store in Bonita Springs, and I sell mattresses, box springs, bed frames, mattress protectors, everything but bedroom furniture. And it's nice because you come in by appointment, you're allowed to look at my inventory and spend time with myself and my store, and it's private for you to come in, so there's no other people there. You know what you want.
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
because I feel awkward
Yep.
going to buy a mattress
Sure.
and I'm like, try it out. I'm like, I don't know, what do I do?
Yep.
I'm laying here.
Yep.
Do I and I can't really get comfortable or decide if
There's
I'm
a million
comfortable
people there.
because I got a salesman over here. I got 4 people over there. I got 3 people. I don't know.
Right.
I just want to get out as fast as I can.
You want the right mattress at the right comfort level at the right price, but you want to do it and you want to feel comfortable. In most other big box stores, nothing against them, they don't have that ability because you have a salesman right there that wants to get the sale, which I understand.
Yeah.
But at my store, you come in, you spend as much time as you need. There's a variety of mattresses you could lay on. I have pillowcases that are sanitized every day, so it's very clean. Very private, and then when you're ready to make the purchase, we can do delivery same day, next day. I have a delivery team that works for me. So it's a great business, and I'm very fortunate to be part of it and own the company, and I'm looking to, with Southwest Florida, if anyone needs anything, at least give you the right information, and at least you could take that, and if you do some research, you know exactly what I have to offer and see if it makes sense for you.
Yeah. So how do you balance, again, a new business You just started a
Sure.
year or so ago.
June of last year I opened.
Okay. So you have a new business.
Yes.
You have a son.
Sure.
So how do you balance? I've heard from some women today,
Yep.
and then on my podcast, how they try to balance. And I hate to use the word balance because I think we don't balance. I think we manage.
Right. Right.
How do you manage having a child and starting a business?
It's a great question. Giovanni's my little guy. He's 7 years old. He is my number one priority. So he is my life. He comes before anything and everything, but he's also part of my business. So when I say that, like, he helps me with ideas, Daddy, let's do this, let's do that. So when I tell him things about what I'm doing, I incorporate him in my conversation so he feels like he's part of it. So I don't come home and, when I'm home from work, it's him and I time. So when we're having dinner, when we're doing activities, and my ex-wife and I are separated, but we live very close together and we have a great relationship as a mom and dad. And with Giovanni, so when I come home, I try to turn off the mattress business and, be a father. But when I'm talking about it, I'll utilize him as my partner. Giovanni, this is going to be your store. What do you think Daddy should do? So he enjoys that. So he's excited about that. And I'll tell him to count the mattresses. I'll say, hey, buddy, we have to go get the inventory. So he'll come with me. He'll count the kings, the queens. So he feels like he's part of it. So at the end of the day, he's like, all right, Daddy, we did a good job. So he feels like, and he is. That's his business. It's mine and it's his. And I never exclude him from videos I do. So when I do trainings, everyone's like, oh, make sure your kids aren't there. No. If your kids come there, introduce them to your audience, wave to everybody, because that's going to be them in 5 to 10 years. So don't let your children be afraid of the camera. Like my little guy sees me on the camera, he's like, hey, everyone, he waves. And everyone's like, that was so cool. You allow him to come in. I'm like, this is my son. I'm never going to tell him not to come in, unless it's a personal interview where it's something that he can't hear. But I want him to be in front of the camera, and he loves it because when he's 7 years old now, in a few years, maybe that's how he's going to learn. So he'll remember his father doing videos and understanding it. So now he's okay in front of the camera and doing it. So if you have children and you're doing a video, don't be afraid to let them get on the video with you, because that's a big part of letting them grow and understanding the new way of communicating. Because I truly think in the future, that's going to be a big platform, is video marketing, because it's simple and you could reach thousands of people from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, I think since the pandemic, we've really, and since Zoom,
Sure.
I mean, Zoom blew up. There's all these different platforms now.
Yeah.
I use Kajabi for my training.
Sure.
Because it's a platform you can host things on.
Sure.
But I also bring people into meetings that way, because
Sure.
then I don't have to upload, download.
Sure.
And I think it really is, there's Lark, there's all these places
Right.
coming out now that I think that we're just able to reach a whole community.
Right.
But also with Giovanni, I think that it's good that it's like you're creating a little entrepreneur, should he choose that direction.
Absolutely. Yep.
He's got some skills that he's learned, and you've made it fun,
Right.
too.
Right.
I can see you when you say he counts the mattresses.
Right.
When my mom had a restaurant when we were younger,
Sure.
she used to give me like chores and
Sure.
jobs like that to
Right.
do. And I used to think it was strange. I probably was 7 or 8.
Right.
We moved here when I was 10. So 7 or 8 years old, I had to learn how to count back change.
Right.
And I used to think it was weird when I'd go to a store,
Right.
and very weird now,
Right.
that at 12, I'd go to the store and they wouldn't know how to count back change. I'm
Right.
like, you just pick the penny, the
Yep.
quarter, you work
Yep.
your way to $1, give me
Right.
$1. And so I didn't understand. I was mad
Right.
when I had to learn how to count
Sure.
back change. But that skill, how much it helped me
Right.
later on understand finance,
Right.
understand dollars and
Sure.
cents, understand how money worked
Right.
in the restaurant business.
Sure.
When I go to a restaurant, I feel for them on certain
Sure.
days
Right.
from an entrepreneur. So I think that's great that you incorporate him like that.
Absolutely. And I also, with Giovanni, I always want him to say hello to everybody. A lot of children are so afraid to talk. I don't want to say talk to strangers, but don't be afraid to shake hands with somebody, because the more you feel comfortable communicating as a younger person, you're going to feel better as an older person. Because if you're kind of in the bubble as a child, when you start to become an adult, middle school, high school, and you have to get in front of a crowd, if you don't learn at a younger age, it's going to be a lot harder to do it at an older age. I was fortunate to never be afraid of a crowd. I love to speak in front of large groups. I never got nervous.
Come on now, you're really shy.
Yeah, you got the wrong guy. But I feel that the biggest muscle you could help a younger person is getting them comfortable with the audience. Obviously, be careful. Don't talk to people you don't trust. But if you're going to get out there and you want to build a brand for yourself, you got to be the brand, and you got to start the children so young. Because if you help them as a mom, dad, aunt, uncle, or anybody that's let's say a supervisor of that child, maybe a caretaker, whatever it is, teach them what they to do now. Because if they do it so naturally at a young age, it's going to be so easier when they're in school. And it's going to be like, oh, okay, I remember doing that with daddy and mommy, and it's simple. I could do that in front of a camera.
Yeah, they have to give presentations in school
Sure.
and things like that. As you were talking, one of the things that came to my mind is I almost feel like if you teach a child to be assertive,
Sure.
like, hi, my name is so-and-so,
Sure.
that the people who don't have the best of intentions might be intimidated
Right.
or may not target a child or a teenager
Right.
who is assertive,
Sure.
confident,
Sure.
because they have a voice.
Right.
So you're also, I believe, in my world, that, hi, who are you?
Right.
They're like, oh, maybe I don't want,
Right.
this is not the kid.
Right.
So I almost see it as a self-preservation thing that
Sure.
you're teaching,
Sure.
as well as business. Because
Absolutely.
I don't know, that just came to me in my mind.
No, I mean, granted, I don't expect kids to go up to strangers on the street and say,
No.
hi, my name is, but if you're in an audience with your family, your friends, and there's people around you, don't be in the corner not saying anything. Don't be afraid to smile and shake hands. And people like that. They love that, and they feel more warm. And I know my little guy, when he gets older, as a father and somebody trying to teach him the right way in life, is when he may meet the right person that can give him an opportunity, and it could change his life because of the small things his family taught him as a young student or a young child. And I see a lot of kids that are so quiet and like very scared to talk, which is okay, but you got to train them young, because if you don't, it's going to be a lot harder when they get older. That's
I do agree with that philosophy.
Sure.
I come from a whole family of entrepreneurs,
Sure.
so there was no shyness.
Right.
I thought I was shy, but that was actually my stepfather later on telling me I was a motor mouth.
Sure.
So it turned me into not talking,
Right.
but I wasn't actually a shy person.
Right.
I was just kind of quieted down by
Sure.
someone else's
Right.
voice.
Right.
And then I obviously have found my voice again
Yeah.
here. So you mentioned something earlier, that you live close to your ex-wife,
Sure. Right.
and you have a very healthy co-parenting relationship.
Absolutely.
Tell us how that dynamic works, because the reason I'm asking is I see some really successful co-parents, and I see ones that I think get caught in the pain maybe.
Sure.
So tell me how that's working for you, or how you made it work.
Sure. Nobody wants a divorce. Nobody wants to get into a marriage and it not work out. But that's the situation my ex-wife and I had. And once we had a divorce last year, our main focus, and myself and her as well, is to make sure our son is taken care of and treated well and raised correctly by his mom and dad. So what I didn't want is him to feel any different with me not being in their home. So what I did is I got a home literally next door to their house. Their community's here, and I live in the next community. So if I had to walk there, it's 1,000 feet from door to door, but there's a gate, so I got to kind of go around the gate. So it's nice. So when Giovanni wants to go to daddy's house, or when he's at daddy's house, he wants to go to mommy's house, the drive is less than 30 seconds. So I'm not there, but I'm there. And when he's with me, his mom is right there, but not there, if that makes any sense. So it gives him a sense of comfort, which I love, because that's my main focus, making sure he never feels isolated by his mom or dad, which I never wanted to do, nor did his mother. So once everything was finalized with the divorce, we decided my main focus is to make sure Giovanni is happy, and and nothing changed for him, which it hasn't, and I'm grateful for that. And that's what we do. So I wake up every day to be a great father, great support for him and his mom, and marriage is a piece of paper, and then when you're not married anymore, you could still have a great relationship. I wish her the best. I wish him the best. And my goal and focus is to make sure my son has the support of his father, and I'll always be there for him.
I think that's so important in the co-parenting. I mean, we have people who've been married, not married,
Sure.
whatever the situation might be. And I've heard some really good success stories. And I saw a post not that long ago from the mother.
Sure.
And she put a post out, and she said, I just want everybody to understand that just because it didn't work out with us doesn't mean our kids aren't important.
Sure.
And anybody who wants to tell me this or tell me that, I'm not interested.
Right.
Right now, we're not together.
Right.
We have our own lives, and that's okay.
Right.
So whatever you want to tell me, keep to yourself.
Sure.
I don't need the gossip. I don't need
Right.
any of that. If it's about my child,
Right.
then I care. Otherwise, I don't.
Right.
And I was like, wow, it's kind of important to make other people just stay out of your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think we get with social media, people get caught up.
And everybody's opinion, everyone's got these little tidbits. Oh, here's what you should do. Here's what you shouldn't do. Listen, in your heart what's right and what's wrong, and being a good co-parent to your partner that's no longer your partner, but still your partner.
Yeah.
Because if you're divorced, you still have a responsibility to make sure that your ex-husband or ex-wife is okay with their child. So my goal is to make sure that my ex-wife is okay with Giovanni, which she's doing a great job as a mom, and that's all I care about. He has a great mother, a great father, and that's all I could be concerned on, which is very important.
See, I love that you brought that up, because a lot of people don't think. I mean, I get it. Divorce is hard.
Sure.
And everybody wants to think about their kids,
Sure.
but they get stuck in their own cycles, I think,
Sure.
too. And I had a situation with a coaching client. It was kind of the same thing. she was good when
Right.
there would be that conversation with
Sure.
the ex and with the kid, and then she'd go off with her friends.
Right.
And there was an opinion,
Sure.
and for some reason, for like 3 years, she couldn't turn it off.
Right.
And so there was this roller coaster also that they would be on.
Right.
Like things would be okay, and then the naysayers would come in.
Sure.
And earlier, I had a conversation with somebody about naysayers, and really what we have to do is just turn them off.
Absolutely.
Because it's your life, how you choose to live it,
That's it.
how you choose to raise your child, as long as everybody's safe,
That's it.
healthy,
Absolutely.
happy,
Absolutely.
those people,
Mhm.
they don't matter.
Right. They don't.
And that's what I think a lot of people need to learn about social media. About that. Well, that's just me.
Everybody has an opinion, and keep in mind it should have nothing to do with the way you feel and want to grow, because it's not important to you. Everyone's going to give, I always say they're going to be a third base coach. You should do this, you should do that. Here's what, listen, do your thing. I wish you the best, but don't worry about me or my family, because that's my responsibility. And if you can do that and turn off people and kind of get them out of your way, you're going to be a lot clearer, which is important.
I love that. So in closing, you had mentioned briefly, I know we're kind of running out of time, but I did want to touch on it. You had mentioned briefly about leadership or creating some sort of community
Sure.
where you are and
Sure.
bringing kind of community together.
Sure.
Can you explain that as our closing? Because I really
Absolutely.
wanted to touch on that.
I think every entrepreneur, every single person in business for themselves, or even working for somebody, they want to grow their network. They want to grow their let's say their position in what they do. So what I'm hoping to do in Southwest Florida is kind of get with somebody in every space, health and wellness, cars, medical, mattresses, coaching, and allow them to come together on a weekly, monthly basis and kind of, have this unique individual group where we all help each other grow. Because if we could come together as one, as a community in Southwest Florida, I think it's going to make us all stronger. Because instead of battling each other, let's work with each other. I love helping my partners. I love helping my neighbors. I've helped other people in mattress businesses because people came in. If I didn't have what they wanted, I'll point them to the right direction. It's not my store, but I know they're going to be taken care of because I know what they want is elsewhere. So what I'm hoping to do in the next couple of months is, get together with a group of people, and it's going to be exclusive where, let's say 40 to 50 people in different spaces are going to come together. And when somebody needs in real estate, we know who to talk to. If somebody needs in mattresses, we know who to talk to. Kind of like the BNI group, but more close-knit and more like belly-to-belly friends and people we want to work with. And I think if we can do that as a community, in any community, I think it's important, because if we start working as a team, all we can do is help each other grow, rather than, oh, let me try to beat them, or let me try to do this, or let me knock this person. Negativity goes nowhere in success. If you can kind of get rid of that and just think about the positive note, that's what I'm looking to do and working on it.
I like that idea a lot, because I think the many can help the ship rise.
Absolutely.
And we can't do it all alone.
Nope.
I mean, I can't do this by myself.
Sure.
There's a crew here.
Sure.
Running your business, somebody has to help you with deliveries.
Sure.
There's a team behind every success.
Absolutely.
And I think if you can make that team work outside of your field,
Sure.
because people get to know you, or somebody may have experience in something
Right.
that you're now approaching going, oh, this is a part of my business I didn't see happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you're like, oh, wait, Bob or Sarah over
Yep.
here, I think they just went through that.
Yep.
Let me call them. And you
Sure.
feel comfortable calling them because they are part of your group.
Sure. Yep.
I really like that.
Don't be afraid to ask for help from people that you think could help you, because if you don't ask, you're not going to know. And people think if they ask for help, they're weak or they're not strong. Yeah. Successful people know how to, bring the right people around them. And if you have the right people around you, it's only going to help you grow. And as you help people and they help you, you're going to know who's not there for you and who are. But that's part of the process, is knowing who to bring in and who not to bring in.
That's part of the weeding out.
Absolutely.
Same thing with friends, the 5 people you keep around
Sure.
your close group.
Absolutely.
Knowing who belongs, who doesn't.
Absolutely.
Part of the process.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for
I really
having me.
appreciate you having you as a guest. And thank you, everybody, for joining the Kristen Weardon Show. I really appreciate all of you joining us today, and I will see you the next time.